Hey, it's Kaylee here with a guide for Scholar. So to be more specific, this video is going to cover content about Scholar grinding and PvP. So to start things off, Scholar's an Ascension-based class in Black Desert Online. This means she has access to her Awakening weapon from level 1, rather than having to wait until level 56 like most other classes. She's a DR-based class, meaning that she scales better with damage reduction. So in PvP, we're going to focus and prioritize DR rather than evasion. Being a DR class does make her surprisingly tanky. She also does have a passive that allows her to not take fall damage when jumping from extreme heights. This can be super useful when disengaging from fights, because you can jump off of cliffs and stuff like that to get away from people, because if they follow you they can drop their health down a lot and you can turn on them and finish them off. She is also a super armor class, meaning that more than likely you're going to end up attacking and be standing while you're doing your attacks rather than trying to hit your iframes and avoid damage. So you're happy to tank that damage because she does have a lot of self-healing. She does also have a passive which has been nerfed since she originally released last year, that allows her to deal slightly more damage when attacking from higher elevations. Meaning if you're up on a cliff and you drop into a pack of mobs or a PvP scenario, you will deal more damage the higher you are, and it does cap at a point, but it is a significant increase when you can get it. PvE, Scholar is a powerhouse. She may not necessarily be an S tier grinder, but she is an A+ tier for sure. She has the ability to double up on her DP down debuffs on mobs, which lets her punch far above her gear score. This also comes into play in endgame grind zones, letting her clear packs of mobs faster than other classes would be able to if under geared. Getting into add-ons, these are the ones that I've found work best. Starting with Dropkick, which is the first skill in our rotation, as well as the skill that gives us our first DP down debuff. We add the add-ons DP down as well as the personal attack speed buff. This gives us the critical double DP down our class uses to quickly burn through mobs and also increases our attack speed. We then roll into Hammer in the Knee, giving us some extra protection with a DP buff and filling out the last 30% critical hit rate to top out our skills without max crit rate. This ensures that all of our skills crit. The next skill that I use is Hammer Punch, which is where the first of our personal damage buffs comes into play with back attack and critical hit damage. These are the most important add-ons as they allow us to smash out damage very quickly. The last three skills to put add-ons on are kind of a dealer's choice, but I found that adding the back attack and critical damage to Hammer Smash, Hammer Spin, and the Abyssal Legacy skill, Flow Golden Continuum, work the best to make sure that those buffs don't fall off while we complete our rotation. For a simple Scholar rotation, when engaging on a pack of mobs, you want to quickly get behind them and start your attack with Dropkick to give them the double DP down debuff we previously mentioned, continuing with Hammer in the Knee and its flow, followed by Hammer Punch and its flow. These skills all animate really well into each other, making combat feel seamless. We then want to continue our attack with one small step to get you back behind your targets and a rapid flow Golden Thunder, which will allow us to continue uninterrupted into Hammerfall. We follow this up by using Hammer Smash while spinning our camera into a Hammer Spin and finishing off with Home Run and its flow Golden Continuum to get back behind the target and start the whole process over again. We also use our E buff, Particle Acceleration, either on cooldown or when we are about to hit the boss phase or large mob sequence of a grind zone. Please bear in mind that our E buff is not your typical E buff, and that you have to put it in a quick slot. I also do not like our 100% Black Spirit Rage skill for potential energy, as it has a very long animation and can get you easily killed while grinding high-end spots. So I will always consume my Black Spirit Rage to give us that 30 AP and 25% attack speed buff rather than use that skill. For our PvE iframe, we are going to use Shift combined with either A or D to get us out of tight situations or attacks we would otherwise be hit and killed by. You can also use Shift S, but bear in mind the first part of that skill is not an iframe, only the second part of the animation, so please use it carefully. Moving into crystals, there are multiple variations that we are able to run. For a general PvE build, what I like to use are 2 Crystal of Void Akrods, 2 Crystal of Void Destructions, 2 Corrupted Magic Crystals, 2 Rebellious Spirit Crystals, 2 Crystal of Brutal Decimation, 2 Red Fang Valor Crystals, the Ancient Spirit Crystal Swiftness, which is the crystal that we get on our outfit, our Giran's Tier to give us extra drop rate, as well as 2 Crystal of Stalwart Fortitude. Now this crystal is interchangeable. You can swap this out for a Crystal of Dogged Patience if you would like. The difference between the two is Stalwart Fortitude has knockdown bound resist, whereas Dogged Patience has stun, stiffness, or freezing resistance. The main thing between these 2 crystals is that they both offer extra AP against monsters and monster damage reduction. The secret crystal that I personally like to use is 1 Magic Crystal of Infinity HP recovery. While fighting in areas that do not require extra protections in the form of resistances, this gives us an extra 3 HP on hits. Moving into your various Addons locations for grinding, you run a very similar crystal setup. The crystals that will remain the same for all of the various builds are 2 Crystal of Brutal Decimation, 2 Crystal of Void Destruction, 2 Crystal of Void Akrods, 2 Corrupted Magic Crystals, 2 Rebellious Spirit Crystals, your Giran's Tier, and the highest form of the Crystal of Dusky Ruin as you can get. Depending on the location, the final 4 crystals will change. For Etherion and Nymphomare, you will be running 2 red Battlefield Giant Crystals to give us stun, stiffness, and freezing resistance of plus 25% and knockdown bound resistance of plus 5% per crystal. We also run the Crystal of Dogged Patience here to give us 5 extra monster AP, 5 extra monster DR, as well as 10% extra stun, stiffness, and freezing resistance, because that is the CC that those mobs give in those locations. For Tenebron, the 4 crystals that change out are going to be Ancient Magic Crystal of Nature Fighting Spirit for knockback and floating resistance of 25%, and Crystal of Unyielding Spirit, which also gives us knockback and floating resistance, as that is the CC in that area. For Zephyros and Orbita castles, which are the final 2 castles in Addons, as well as grinding Ash Forest Dekia 2, the CC is going to be knockdown and bound, which has us running the crystals Red Battlefield Crystal Adamantine, as well as Crystal of Stalwart Fortitude to give us those resistances. The crystals you see here at the bottom are from equipping a full set of Charizard accessories. In PvE, you always want to run the highest version of the Dawn Crystals All AP as you can, with Han being the greatest. Consumables can help make or break your grind. The most important consumables to have are your food buffs, your elixirs or draughts, your perfumes, as well as your church buffs, your villa buffs, and your house buffs. Getting into the food buffs, the most important one to run is Simple Cron Meal for all of its wonderful buffs, including 30 monster AP and the all-important 5% extra critical and back attack damages that allow us to overcome any given grind zone's AP cap. When talking about draughts and elixirs, we are exclusively going to use Harmony draughts depending on the species type of the zone you're grinding. If you are fighting in a zone that does not have a specific species type, you always want to run a base Harmony draught. For zones that use human, demi-human, Kama Silva, or Edonia as their species types, you want to use those respective Harmony draughts. For perfumes, if you do not meet the AP cap of the grind zones you're in, you can use Perfume of Courage for an additional 20 AP, or you can use Perfume of Envy for an additional 25 AP. However, if you do meet the AP caps for the zones you're grinding, you can use a Perfume of Deep Sea or a Perfume of Tenacity, which both give you extra back attack, down attack, and air attack damage of 10% each. For house buffs, we have 5 different items that will give us an additional 15 AP. To start, the Master's Special Stuffed Shadow Lion Head will give us a flat 15 AP with no additional buffs. If you use a Karanda statue, you will gain that 15 AP plus an additional 100 stamina. Kazarka gives us an additional 15 AP as well as an extra 100 HP. Kudum and Nuver both share a 5% buff to all resistances as well as the 15 AP. We also want to ensure that we are running all 3 of the church buffs, Bravery, Blessing, and Progression, for additional combat XP, damage reduction, and AP. We also want to make sure we are running our Villa to give us an additional 10 AP and 10 damage reduction, as well as 10% resistance and 200 HP. To finish out our consumables, you want to ensure that you have some form of alchemy stone on to give you extra AP, accuracy, resistance, DR, and attack cast speed. Another important factor in our damage calculation is going to be our light stones. Depending on the grind zone you're grinding, and also the species type, there are varying lightstone combinations that will give you extra monster AP against specific species. If you do not meet the AP caps in these zones, you want to make sure that you are using the corresponding species damage to the grind zone. Once you do meet or exceed the AP caps on those zones, Scholar wants to run the Lightstone effect Vicious Shadows, which is created by using 2 Lightstone of Fire Predations, as well as a Lightstone of Fire Shadows and a Lightstone of Fire Strike. For these Lightstones, we want to ensure that we are infusing them into a Kabua's artifact, as these are the best artifacts in slot for PvE. If you have the ability or the money, you can buy Herald Crystals to infuse into your Kabua's artifact, granting you extra AP against monsters, monster DR, HP, and stamina. Also, you can use crystallized energy of end times to amplify your light stones. However, I do not recommend doing this until you already have your Hondon crystals. Moving on to PvP, things change up quite drastically. We need to try to remain as protected by super armors as we can so that we don't get caught by CCs, because every single PvP instance is different, meaning that there is no real set skill rotation, but with practice, you'll find out what skills fit each type of situation. So to start off with some important skills, one of the key things to know is that we are a grab class, but as opposed to some of the other grabs, ours is very unprotected, meaning that we can get caught while trying to perform it. So be careful when going against classes that have AoE CCs or grabs themselves, as they can end your grab before you even get out of the initial teleport. In group PvP settings, we want to use as many protected skills as we can unless you have sight on all of your opponents. Skills like hammer spin, one small step, home run, potential energy, and infinite power will all keep you protected. Out of those skills, home run is the highest damaging skill combined with its flow. If you can ensure your safety, however, you would use a skill combination very similar to your PvE rotation to maximize your damage, with the exception being dropkick. In PvP, dropkick can also be used as a way to guarantee a down smash if hammer in the knee or hammer punch don't land one themselves. Another noteworthy skill here is gravity anchor. This is a fantastic movement skill as it is a super armor, and it will also hit unprotected targets with a knockback or a down attack if they're already on the ground. For protected movement, we want to swap around from iframe to super armor to try and stay protected as possible while engaging or while running from fights. The important skills to note here are gravity anchor, one small step, home run, gravity press, gravity blink, reversal, one giant leap, and hammer rush. Swapping between these skills will help you stay unpredictable and get into and out of engagements very quickly. With gravity anchor, it is very important to remember that you can throw the initial anchor out, move, make attacks, and then use the anchor again to instantly teleport back to where you left the anchor originally. The add-ons you'll want to run will vary wildly based off of your playstyle. For a good general build, I like to run the back attack and critical hit buffs on one small step, the critical hit rate buff and DR debuff on home run, the evasion and attack cast speed debuff on potential energy, the attack speed buff and DR debuff on hammer smash, the attack speed and critical hit damage buffs on one giant leap, and the DR buff and bleed on flow golden continuum. For skill enhancements, which matter greatly in PvP, you'll want to use gravity rush, flow golden path, and the all-important golden boom. This skill will immediately remove any slows on you, whether it be movement or attack slows, and will prevent these slows from being put on you for the duration of the skill. This is very important to make sure that classes don't prevent you from putting out damage or putting on a chase with their own debuffs. As previously stated, in PvP, our crystal setup changes drastically. We want to use for AP 2 red battlefield crystals Viper, 2 red battlefield crystals Karme, 2 red spirit crystals, 2 glorious crystals of gallantry Alucas, a full 4 set of Ultimate Combined Magic Crystal Makalad, a Bongwong's Tear, as well as an Ancient Spirit Crystal Swiftness from our outfit, and a Visionary Crystal Elcar. Your Charizard crystals are going to be 5 Hondon crystals all AP and 1 Hondon crystal accuracy. This will give us just that last little bit of accuracy that will help us when going against classes that use some evasion. When moving into DR builds for PvP, we'll run 2 Crystal of Frozen Bitterness, a 4 set of Ultimate Combined Magic Crystal Hooms, 2 Dark Red Fang Crystal Armors, 2 Glorious Crystal of Gallantry Alugus, a Hetai's Tear, 2 Visionary Crystal of Elcar, 2 Gen Glorious Crystals of Honor, max HP, as well as a Kydex Crystal Giant. The Charizard crystals for this set are 4 Hondon crystals all AP and 2 Hondon crystals damage reduction. Bear in mind the damage reduction crystals here do reduce your sheet AP by 25 each, but they give you 25 sheet DP each. And that's it. That's all it takes to play Scholar. She's a very simple class to pick up, very beginner friendly, and very satisfying to play. She also has some very fun voice lines for you to keep an ear out for as you grind. I hope you guys enjoyed this guide, and if you did, please remember to subscribe to my channel as this helps me grow, and ring that notification bell so that you're notified when more videos like this go up. As a final shout out, I'd like to thank Papalicia over on Twitch for helping me get this video put together and for providing the wonderful heads up display you guys can all see on my stream. Please be sure to drop him a follow as he is an amazing artist and amazing player. Until next time, keep on smashing!